Okay, we're going to talk about the mobile home that we got finished with here. The Everybody's wanting to know about cost. I'm not going to give exact cost on it because I'm still actively buying in this area. But there's a lot of things that go into buying and getting a hold of land like that. Let's talk about the land first. Me and Ronnie had been looking for probably about a year and a half for some land in this general area. So I see that sign. I call the guy immediately. Well, he tells me he can meet me the next day, so we meet up, and Ronnie was there. So we made a deal to buy the piece of property. Well, from the time I said I would take the property, from the time I actually purchased the property, was about 6 months after it went through, you know, the lawyer and all this, and then I had a guy on the property that I evicted and getting him off, and them selling their trailer and moving it away from the place and getting it cleaned up, and me getting mine on there. It was about 6 months process. Well, after that, we only work 1 day a week, sometimes 2 days a week. We normally work Sundays. Sometimes I work a Saturday and a Sunday, unless I get a phone call that something's wrong. I come down, during the week, but I only plan on working 1 day a week. We do work a couple days a week sometimes. And sometimes I have one guy, sometimes I have two guys, sometimes I have three guys with me. So all that in the factor, it took 30 days to do the work on that home. And I think it was 8 or 9 of those days was just in foundation work. And we subbed out the roof. So the land around here can be anywhere from $1,000 an acre to $10,000 an acre, depending on where it's at, how it lays, if it's asphalt road frontage, if it's sand road frontage, if it's on this side of the county or on that side of the county, or out in no man's land. So the land, it's a big difference there. The trailer itself, when it started, I'll tell you what it cost me to buy the actual trailer. I paid $3,000 for the trailer to begin with. That's an actual number. And then I put 30 days worth of work into it.
I should probably mention, I'm the cameraman. The noise you're hearing
Is pigeons.
There are pigeons cooing in this building right here next to us. All right.
So we will recoup our money faster than we would recoup it in the bank. So if you put $1,000 in the bank, how long would it take you to make that $1,000 back? We will get it back faster doing it this way than putting it in the bank. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give any exact figures.
So basically, you spend a bunch of money, but then now that we've spent the money, the property is worth more than we've spent for it, and we're earning an income on it that's more than you would earn on that money in the bank. So
yeah, we have probably doubled that property value from what it was.
From what we spent to what
what we spent to what it's worth at this point.
So basically, everything we spent, our top dollar, our top number of what the property has cost us, if we tried to sell it, the value of it is probably about twice what we're in it total.
So that We've got a renter in it. It's rented. We're on to a new project. But if you like the channel, subscribe to us.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't tell them all the... you didn't tell them some of the other things, like what took the longest. And you mentioned the
foundation.
The foundation.
The...
And you didn't mention about water and septic.
Yeah, the septic was on the land, so we didn't really, that was factored in when we bought the land, and also the well was factored in when we bought the land.
So that raised the price of the land, but it also meant it's less that you have to spend.
Yeah, and it's less that you have to develop. I mean, you buy a raw piece of land, you're developing everything. You've got to get the infrastructure there, like the power meter and all was still on the property. I didn't have to wait on the power company. I didn't have to wait on the well man. I didn't have to wait on the sewer man. Explain
to them about, okay, so let's say you buy a raw piece of land and you get it cheap because it's just treed land. Explain to them what the cost would be like and the time to get the lot cleared, and then to get the septic that was already there installed, because that's kind of the biggest pain, in my opinion, is getting the septic system.
The septic ain't that bad. The well's actually worse. But anyway, to clear trees off of a piece of property is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 an acre. And now that does not give you grass. That just gives you no trees. You still have to level it and get grass to grow on it, fertilize it, do all that stuff.
But Donnie would have done that himself, but it would have been a ton of time.
Yeah, it would have.
And wear and tear and gas.
It would have took me probably maybe a third of an acre per day at best with my machine.
So when we rolled up, and it's a lot that already has a trailer on it, and it's a very nicely laid out lot where the trees have been thinned, but there's still some trees in the yard, so it looks good, and it's nice and level, and it's got a nice driveway that's level.
Well, also on this particular piece of property, it's got the bigger well in it. It's got a 6-inch well in it instead of a 3-inch well. And a lot of people down here put 2-inch sand wells in. So this one's got a 6-inch well. It will easily run 2 trailers or houses. It will easily support that, and I've got plenty of road frontage for that. So everything, worked out on that piece of property. I could put at least 2 homes in there, and I could probably squeeze 3 if I really wanted to. But 2 for sure. The septic system costs you, right now, it's costing about $2,500 for a septic system. If you had to put a septic in, that's hooked up to your house. And this area down here, the wells are 7,000 to 8,000, depending on how deep you have to drill. If you have to go over 200 feet, it gets astronomical at that point.
Isn't the septic, though, you have to jump through some hoops and stuff?
Yeah, you got to go down to DHEC and tell them where you want it. You cannot, like if it was solid wooded land, I couldn't even get a septic on it, because you cannot disturb the soil before they come out and test it. So they can't test it if there's roots in the ground. So you kind of, at that point, you're kind of screwed. You have to, you'd have to clear it and let it lay for a year or so they can come out and retest it to see what the drainage is on it. So it's kind of a pain in the butt.
But the well's more expensive. But the well, you just call them, say, hey, I want a well. They come out, find a good spot for it, and that's that.
Well, you got to tell them where it's at, and if where to drill, and if you miss water, you're out to $7,000.
Well, you got those dowsing rods, though. You'd be.
Yeah. But the $7,000 for a well, and it's $2,000, $2,500 for a septic, and each. So that's another thing you got to worry about. That septic over there is set up for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Well, they do it off the bedrooms. So I had the choice of buying a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom to put on that piece of property and still use that septic tank, not have to upgrade anything. And if I would have went with, say, a 4-bedroom, then I would have had to pull that septic up and redo the septic, redo the leach field, redo the tanks, redo everything. It wasn't, you know, that's the best case scenario is what we found over there. So it did right.
So we
was able to do it a little faster.
If you watched all those videos, everything was tore up, everything was destroyed. But the reason we were kind of laughing and carrying on and having a good time was because nothing was really destroyed that was a big issue. Like, okay, yeah, the bedroom has holes rotted in the floor. Well, the floor is a piece of plywood, you know. Tear it up, put a new one down, you know. The bathroom, oh, it needs completely gutted, and it seems like, oh my God, it's a money pit. Well, people like new bathrooms anyways. You know, people don't like, you know, if you're trying to get a nice tenant that's going to be happy and satisfied with the thing, you don't want an old toilet in there that's all, you know, leaking and everything, or the bathtub has tiles falling off of it. I mean, you kind of want something that's sustainable and can be cleaned where it looks new, you know. So we kind of had to do the bathroom anyway, so it didn't really matter how bad it was because we're going to redo it anyway.
And at the same time, we learned a bunch.
Yeah.
We now we know, and y'all should know. Well, y'all won't know, but now we know. I know exactly what it costs to put a bathroom in. And it's not nothing like a house. It's about double what a house is. And I know what the floors are made out of. I know what it's going to take to replace floor. I know what the plumbing's made out of. I know, you know, how to hook this up. I know how to hook that up. I know what to look for when I'm buying a non-air conditioner house, or the siding, the roofing. I know what all that cost. So it makes it a lot easier now. The next time I go in, I know what to expect from a $3,000 trailer. We know exactly what it costs to move one now. We've got all the numbers that we need for the next one. So schooling, everybody pays something for schooling, and we factored that in also.
So we spent some money, had a bunch of work that, you know, some of it was a pain in the butt, but, you know, we got a couple guys that we can hire that do a lot of the grunt work that you really don't want to do. Those guys are happy to do it if they're well paid. And we like those guys. They like us. We get along great with them. So it's a big pain in the butt, but at the same time, we're only doing it one or two days a week. It's kind of almost like a hobby, but, you know, it's also an investment. And at the end of the day, the property's worth more than what we're in it by a considerable amount. And it really is a nice little piece of property. Another thing too is whenever they're out in the country like that, they're not really in a bad neighborhood, you know. So it's not like the property next door is bringing that property value down or anything. There's a couple acres there. It's 2.5 acres. So that's a nice little piece of property. Somebody could buy that and build a nice big mansion on it if they wanted to. You know, I mean, it's a decent little piece of property. So it's something to own and invest, and it's something that you can be proud of having. So one of the things with living way out in the country like this is property's cheap, and you can get a nice little piece of land where everything's peaceful and quiet, and you can do what you want out in the yard, and you don't have to worry about the neighbors causing having the cops out there every night on them, or usually you don't. So it's country living's kind of cool.
It's a different way of life, that's for sure. It's not the hustle and bustle of town, but it comes at a cost too.
Lots of good things about cities too, right? I'm not trashing cities. It's just they're different.
If I need a bag of concrete right now, I've got to drive that way 30 minutes and drive back 30 minutes. So there's pros and cons for everything. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to kind of know the area. If you get in the wrong area, could be 2 or 3 miles either way and be in the wrong area where it's worth half the amount of money as over here for some reason, which really don't make sense to me. But
it seems like stuff develops, it kind of creeps out. So like there's an area of so like Monroe is 30 minutes that way. Well, if something's in Monroe, it's worth pretty decent money because everything up there is developed. And so for a certain amount of distance from Monroe, the same thing's true. But then you can get down here where maybe something on the main road is more valuable per acre, but you turn on one street and drive down that street half a mile and the stuff down there is dirt cheap. And it's just because people haven't decided to buy that stuff yet.
Yeah. And,
but there's so much land. I mean, there's land everywhere.
yeah, down here it's crazy. You can buy farm acres, you can buy, houses with acres with it. You can buy, like, we're in the middle of downtown right now, and you can buy houses in town here, in the middle of town, with 2 and 3 acres of land with it, and that's just, unheard of in most towns, most bigger towns anyway. But we like this little place, and we're buying around here, so we'll have plenty of work to do.
Ain't that the truth? So we will be filming some more videos of our next project. We're working on the old jailhouse. Donnie's in the jailhouse now.
In the jailhouse now. He's in the jailhouse now.
I told him once or twice to stop playing cards and shooting dice. He's in the jailhouse now.
Well, y'all, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. Give us a comment down below. We read them all, and we appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.